Our first question is from Danny HZ. What are your guys' thoughts on the keto diet for muscle growth?
Sucks, unless you're a $105.
That's right. Next question.
There it
no,
is.
that's not it right there.
I mean, it's kind of true, though. It's kind of true. And
there's general, I mean, we can answer this generally, but then, of course, on an individual basis.
That's just my opinion.
There's definitely cases where this is a good idea. Generally speaking, it's really hard to gain size and strength on a ketogenic diet just because it's so hard to eat the right amount of calories.
Yeah, calories are so low in this diet.
It's just, and you wouldn't think so, right? Because keto's high in fat's high in calories, but it's so satiating. Yeah. It's really hard to eat in a bulk this way, and that makes it tough. And then carbohydrates are also great for performance. So studies are pretty clear on this. For maximal strength, carbohydrates give you better strength. Now, ketogenic diets for like long stamina endurance can be pretty good. But for strength, not so great. But I had challenges with this just because I couldn't eat enough. It was just so filling. I was like, I can't eat another avocado. Like I can't eat more steak
Where it
and
makes
bacon.
sense, and I'll steal what I'm sure you would say anyways, is that if you're somebody who, if you don't eat the ketogenic diet, like you have issues, right? So if you have all kinds of autoimmune issues and your gut's all messed up, and the only way you feel good is by eating a ketogenic diet,
bingo,
then it is the best diet for you to build muscle on.
Because you're healthy now.
If you are following, if you are following the ketogenic diet because you find that it helps keep you better about eating lesser calories, and you or your friends doing it, and so you want to try it too, and it's worked well for losing body fat, and now you're asking, is this a good diet for me to try and build muscle on? I would say absolutely not. So when I went through it years ago on the podcast when it was just getting really popular, for shits and giggles, we all decided to do it, right? Let's just see how we feel. We'll go through it. Not any of us felt that we needed to or had to. I think Sal was feeling good on it, and that was kind of what promoted all of us to like, okay, let's give it a whirl and see how we all feel. I was in the height of competing at that time and was eating close to 4,500 to 5,000 calories or so, give or take. And it was really tough just to hit my maintenance. For that, so much less if I had to build.
It's just so satiating.
Yeah, and what I found was in order to hit my calorie intake for my size, and that's why I made the joke of if you're 105 pounds, maybe okay, but in order for me to hit 4,000 plus calories, I found myself eating tons of macadamia nuts, butter, avocado. Just there was a handful of foods I was eating
super limited.
Yeah, I was very limited on my choices to fill those calories up. And I remember thinking to myself, like, this can't be ideal for me to be consuming this much of the same foods just so I could hit the calorie intake.
I wonder if this question was spurred because of like Dom DiAgostino, right? Because he did deadlift. I remember from like being in a fasted state or even like going through the ketogenic diet quite a bit, and he's a really strong guy. And it's like I think we just have this sort of, again, like looking at somebody else and thinking that might work for you individually. It definitely is the variances are crazy.
Yeah, so I mean, I've had on and off gut health issues, and a ketogenic style diet in the past has been good for my gut health issues. Carbohydrates tend to aggravate them. So in the past, when this would happen, I would eliminate carbohydrates, I'd increase my fat intake, keep my protein intake high, and it would improve my health. And that's what made it a good diet for me for strength and for muscle, because the other option was to feel, inflamed and bloated and have gut issues, right? So if it makes you healthier, it's going to work for you. Now, today, my gut issues right now are all but non-existent. So now I eat carbohydrates because it works better for me. I'm stronger and I feel better. But I will say this, I do notice a difference in my mental clarity between the two. If I want to be mentally sharp, if I get my body to run off of ketones, I do feel very sharp. And I've heard people talk about this. I don't think this is true for everybody though. But for me personally, even now, I know that if I'm going to be on a podcast or I'm going to do something where I want to be really, really sharp, I'll avoid carbohydrates for 2 or 3 days.
Fueling off of ketones, it does the same for me in terms of mental clarity.
This is another question too that highlights why I'm so annoyed by diets in general though too. Like, okay, so let's take you for example. There's very few people that I know that are like what is Michaela Peterson, right? That where she was like just everything affected her, and the only thing that didn't make her feel terrible was just meat, right? Yeah. very few clients I've ever met are like that.
Super rare.
A lot of clients I've met, there's specific carbohydrates that they're doing, primarily things like gluten and sugars and stuff like that tend to upset them. But things like rice, sweet potato, yams, I've yet to meet a client that can't digest that and doesn't feel good eating that.
Yeah.
So why follow a diet as specific as like the carnivore, the keto diet, if those things don't make you feel bad? Why not run a keto-ish or carnivore-ish diet where you eat primarily meat, but then you allow yourself to have these things like rice, sweet potato, yams, maybe some vegetables that don't bother
fruit,
you. Yeah, or fruit, right? That doesn't bother you, that really will complement those energy levels, will help complement building muscle. Like this idea that if we decide that we're going to go keto or we're going to go carnivore, that we have to like follow the guidelines. Like I have to be so strict about it. It's like, well, maybe what it is that makes you feel so good about following that diet was certain things that you eliminated.
Yeah.
That's what, in my experience, whether it be a client that swears by being vegan, a client that swears by being keto, or swears by being carnivore, or swears by being paleo, it's not the fucking diet. It's what they got rid of in their diet that was previous. And so instead of falling in love with these diets and saying, oh, I need to follow this diet, maybe look into what was it you were eating before that didn't make you feel well. Keep that out the fucking diet, but then start to introduce some of these other foods that have tremendous value for you.
Yeah, and also it changes as you get older, as the context of your life changes. I know, for example, for me and for a lot of people I've worked with, a ketogenic style diet is very satiating, okay? That might make it a good option for cutting. It is for me. If I'm trying to get leaner, then I tend to go higher fat, lower carbohydrate with my lower calorie, just because it's easier for me to deal with the hunger. And so I have less of the hunger, less of the cravings as a result. Also, I said earlier, mental sharpness, it's on a different level when I eat ketogenic. So I'll modify it depending on, when I need that kind of stuff. Or if I'm feeling kind of down or tired, I may eat that way. Or if I want to go on a strength cycle, I want to start adding muscle, well, that's when I'll throw the carbohydrates in. So this is where it's really good to know yourself, know what works for you, and then always stay open because things can change. Your body can change, your reactions to food changes. And this is what allows you, because if your diet is rigid, your lifestyle's not the same. Your lifestyle's not rigid. So if everything stayed exactly the same all the time, you never aged, you slept the exact same, all your stress was the same, everything was identical, yeah, well, now you got your diet that works, so stick to that. But things change. It only makes sense that your diet should change along with it.